stop everything you're doing right now. What I'm about to reveal about the next 10 days will absolutely shock you. We're not tracking one winter storm. We're tracking two massive storm systems that are about to unleash unprecedented weather chaos across North America, and if you have a family, you need to understand exactly what's coming and when. Before we dive in, drop your location in the comments right now. I personally respond to every request with detailed forecasts for your city. Tell me if you have kids or elderly parents. I'll include family-specific timing. Top 3 locations get full segments tomorrow. Drop your city now. Here's what's happening right now that even veteran meteorologists are calling absolutely unprecedented. Look at our 500 millibar height anomalies. In the red and pink, that's high pressure. In blue and green, that's low pressure. Notice we have high pressure over Greenland. We have low pressure retreating back into northern Canada that was associated with the cold air in the northeast over the past few days. But here's what's absolutely fascinating. We have high pressure across the central and eastern U.S., giving us plenty of sunshine and milder temperatures. Then look at this W pressure with very cold air associated with it in Alaska, western Canada, and offshore of the west coast. This is setting up the ultimate atmospheric battleground. As we roll through this week, that high pressure continues to dominate the east. However, on the northern side, there's going to be a weakness. We call these short waves, troughs starting to move through. The first one comes Tuesday and Wednesday morning. Then, a stronger system is going to eject out of our trough in the desert southwest. This will track toward the Great Lakes late this week and into the weekend. That's a major winter storm developing between Friday, January 9th and Sunday, January 11th. Now let me show you what's happening in the here and now because this is the immediate threat. Look at these snow showers in blue over the northeast. Also in blue out west, that's snow in the higher elevations. The green is rainfall. Where you see yellow specks, that's moderate pockets of rainfall in Northern California. As we roll through tonight, we're going to see more action building across Wisconsin into Michigan. See this purple? That is where sleet and freezing drizzle is likely to occur after midnight going into daybreak Tuesday morning. This could cause hazardous travel conditions across Wisconsin, especially northern Wisconsin toward Rhinelander, La Crosse, and Green Bay. Then over toward Traverse City and northern lower Michigan. The further south you go, air temperatures will be warm enough where it's going to fall as rain and remain liquid once it reaches the surface. Temperatures are above freezing toward Chicagoland, Fort Wayne, and Grand Rapids. For families in these ice zones, here's what this means. If you have school-age kids, check your district's emergency notifications tonight. Many schools will close or delay. Have that conversation at dinner about what happens if there's no school tomorrow. As this system pushes through Tuesday afternoon across the Great Lakes, Toronto will see a wintry mix Tuesday afternoon. Rain, sleet, freezing drizzle, then turning to snow as colder air comes in. This is more of a wintry mix to snow event for New England. Closer to the coast, temperatures will be too warm for all snow. I feel like we're going to see more rain across the I-95 corridor Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Now, turn your attention back to the west. The Pacific Northwest, the Cascades, and the northern Rockies in Idaho, western Montana, and Wyoming will start to see more snow prospects starting Wednesday. That continues into Wednesday evening. Let's look at our total precipitation between now and Wednesday evening, January 7th. You can see the heaviest rainfall activity favoring the Pacific Northwest, Seattle, Portland, Eugene, Medford in Oregon, and northwestern California. We could see a few inches of rain there, around 1 to 3 inches on average. Once that moisture moves inland, it becomes higher elevation snow across the Cascades of Washington State and Oregon, up into British Columbia, Canada, and then the Rockies. The Canadian Rockies, down into the U.S. Rockies of Idaho, western Montana, Wyoming, and the traditional snow areas in Utah and Colorado. Then more of a New England snowstorm into upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, including down East Maine as we go through Wednesday evening. Let me break down the snowfall forecast. Starting out west, a few feet of snow are expected in the Cascades, also watching the northern Sierras and portions of the Rockies, including the Canadian Rockies up into British Columbia and Alberta, Between now and Wednesday evening, across the central U.S., not really much happening as far as snowfall. But across the east, we're looking at snow piling up 1 to 3 inches with some higher amounts possible. Greater than 3 inches in some areas in upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and western Maine. Some of that also favoring Quebec and Ontario across the border. Montreal could get a few inches going through Wednesday evening. For families with kids who love snow days, Wednesday might be your day in New England. Stock up today so you're not dealing with crowded stores tomorrow. Now, the ICY concerns with sleet and freezing drizzle. There will be a lot of that across the upper Midwest, especially Wisconsin, lower Michigan, and parts of New England just north and west of the I-95 corridor. We could see a light glaze of ice. I don't believe we're going to see an all-out ice storm, but it will be enough to cause hazardous travel. If you have a destination 2 hours away, leave early, drive slowly, and stay safe. Looking at wind gust potential through Wednesday evening, highest wind gusts favor the northern Rockies, Montana, Wyoming, northern Colorado, and up into the Canadian Rockies of Alberta and British Columbia. We could potentially see wind gusts in higher elevations, over 80 miles per hour. In the eastern U.S., maybe some breezy conditions in the central Appalachians through western Maryland into the panhandle of West Virginia, and some gustier winds in New Jersey. Now let's look back at our 500 millibar height anomaly. Remember, high pressure is in orange, red, and pink. Lower pressure is in blue and green. As we go through the week, that ridge is going to remain off to the east. We're watching a bigger storm system emanating from the southwest trough, tracking toward the Great Lakes. Here's what's absolutely mind-blowing about our temperatures. The coldest air is associated with that parent trough in Alaska and western Canada. Also, with a trough weakening in eastern Canada, especially toward Nova Scotia, but this ridge of high pressure with quieter weather and sunshine will warm up temperatures in the middle of the country. This has happened this afternoon. That continues this evening and throughout the week. We're going to get even warmer in the east. Some areas like Ontario and Quebec in Canada could be 55 degrees above normal. That could melt some of our snowpack in southeastern Canada later this week. Now look at these wind chills. It's going to be very, very cold, bitterly cold and dangerously cold up in Alaska and northern Canada. That's where the Arctic air is. You can see potentially 80 below zero wind chills in northern Alaska. As we go later into the week, maybe 90 below with wind chills in Greenland. That's crazy stuff. Now, let's track our major winter storm. We have low pressure developing Thursday morning, January 8th, in the Texas or Oklahoma panhandle. This is going to move north and eastbound through the Chicagoland area and southern lower Michigan by Thursday night. Here's where it gets really interesting. A secondary low, this one needs to be watched closely, will develop in central Oklahoma. This one will be tagging along right on its heels. This one will be deepening across portions of the Great Lakes and southeastern Canada once it enters Quebec. By Sunday morning at daybreak, January 11th, this will be a 987 millibar low. This is a strong system. We have to watch the warm side. The Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma is already 5 days in advance, highlighting an area in yellow, which includes a 15% or equivalent slight risk of severe weather. This affects western Kentucky, western Tennessee, northwest Alabama, much of Mississippi, the boot heel of Missouri, eastern Arkansas, northeastern Louisiana, and southern Illinois. Areas like Bowling Green, Paducah, Jackson, Clarksville, Memphis, Tupelo, down to Jackson, Mississippi, Monroe, Louisiana, and Pine Bluff, Arkansas. We've got to keep an eye on the severe weather threat. All modes of severe weather are possible Friday afternoon and evening, January 9th. Look at this setup. We've got DW points out ahead of that second low pressure that's developing, tracking toward the Great Lakes. South of the warm front's draped up north in Indiana and Ohio. Cold front and occluded front also attached. Dew points in the MID and upper 60 seconds. That's pretty high for early January standards. Instability approaching 1,000 joules per kilogram. While that doesn't seem like a lot because it's not July, it is for early January standards pretty elevated. The left exit region of our 500 millibar jet stream is going to be moving across that region. and the low-level winds are going to be cranking up Friday evening. Typically, they do after sunset. You could see that getting up near 60 kN/s, especially in Alabama and Mississippi. We've got to keep close tabs on the potential of a few tornadoes down there. Friday morning at 7 a.m., you're heading to work, heading to school. You want to monitor the weather on the way home. We may have severe thunderstorms roaming the landscape in Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. These could produce winds over 60 miles per hour, quarter-size hail, if not larger, and a few tornadoes moving west to east going through Friday into Saturday morning. This could approach Atlanta Metro, Montgomery, Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, and Mobile, Alabama by Saturday daybreak. For families in these areas, Friday afternoon pickup from school could coincide with severe weather. Have that conversation now about your family's tornado plan. On the warm side, this is where we're seeing heavy rainfall. Repeated rounds of showers and thunderstorms could result in 2 to 4 inches on average from the Smoky Mountains and Cumberland Plateau in eastern Tennessee down through Dixie Alley, North Georgia, portions of Alabama, Mississippi, and into the bayou areas of Louisiana. On the COLD side, we're looking at a potential snowstorm with accumulation across the Midwest, up into the Great Lakes region, southeastern Canada, and even parts of New England, upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and northern Maine going through the weekend. This mainly affects areas between Friday, January 9th, and Sunday, January 11th. Here's the national blend of models. This puts all models into a grand model and gives you an average. Wisconsin, southern Minnesota, Iowa, and eventually Michigan. That's where the heaviest snowfall is likely in the Midwest. New England again. Upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. In Canada, Quebec, and Ontario are the areas we need to watch going into this upcoming weekend. After that storm passes, colder air is on the other side of the globe. It's over in Russia and Scandinavia. Watch as the polar vortex comes right back to the North American continent as we go into January 20th or so, after Martin Luther King Day. This is our cold air source as it comes back toward Hudson Bay in Canada. This is going to provide colder air. As we go into the third week, still lingering with some mild air, but cold shots coming into the United States very intermittently. Then, as we go into the last week of January, this is a cold look not only for Western Canada but for the Pacific Northwest and northern U.S. in general. Shots of cold air will be making their way down into the lower 48 for the end of January. What this looks like for snowstorm forecast, we could continue to see those Colorado, Texas, and Oklahoma panhandle low-pressure systems develop. They'll move northeast toward the Great Lakes. On the northwest side, the cold air source is the polar vortex. The moisture source is the Gulf. Those meet up together in the Midwest for potentially more snowstorms by the third week in January, the 13th through 20th, which includes Martin Luther King Day. Then, as we go into the last few days of January, the 23rd through 31st, we're going to see that snowstorm track favoring the mountains out west, the Cascades, Sierra Nevadas in California, the Rockies, especially northern Rockies, and then further downstream into New England. Overall, as we go through the rest of January, the snowy east regions will be the mountains out west, British Columbia in Canada, the upper Midwest, Great Lakes and New England, and southeastern Canada. Further south, there's still a chance for snow, albeit lower. Climatology suggests the further south you go, warmer temperatures and less chance for snow, especially down toward the Gulf Coast. For families planning activities through the end of January, you're looking at an active pattern. Weekend plans might need flexibility. Winter sports enthusiasts in the mountains are going to have excellent conditions, but travel could be challenging. Now, the 3 most important takeaways from this forecast. First, we have 2 distinct storm systems, one Tuesday, Wednesday affecting the upper Midwest and New England, then a major system Friday through Sunday affecting much of the nation with multiple hazards simultaneously. Second, the Friday through Sunday storm is a multi-hazard event. Severe weather and flooding in the south, heavy snow in the north, all happening at the same time. This is the kind of setup that creates historic weather events. Third, the pattern shift after these storms brings colder air back to North America for the rest of January. This isn't a one-and-done situation. We're entering an active winter weather pattern, Drop your location now and tell me if you have family considerations, kids' school schedules, elderly parents, anything that affects your planning. I'll give you specific timing for your area. When does each phase hit? What should your family prioritize? I respond to every comment. Top 3 locations get detailed family-focused breakdowns tomorrow with hour-by-hour timing. Share this with other parents and families in your community. If this detailed forecast helps you prepare, smash that like button. Subscribe for daily updates. We'll be tracking these storms closely with multiple updates as they develop. Hit the notification bell because timing details will be refined as we get closer. Tomorrow's video breaks down the latest model runs, refined precipitation forecasts, and updated severe weather outlooks. You need this information to protect your family. Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll track every development together. See you tomorrow. Drop your location now. Let me help you prepare your family for what's coming.